In Joshua chapters 4 through 6, you and I will witness the Israelites' reaffirmation of their covenant with God, a miraculous crossing, and the fall of Jericho, emphasizing obedience, faith, and the power of God's presence. Chapter 4 showcases the crossing of the Jordan River, marking a moment of collective memory and faith. Chapter 5 reconnects the Israelites with their identity through circumcision and the Passover, signifying renewal and obedience. Chapter 6 narrates the fall of Jericho, illustrating faith in action and divine intervention. These chapters offer profound insights into your own spiritual growth, reminding you that faith is both a personal journey and a collective experience. They teach you the importance of remembering God's past faithfulness, the need for personal consecration, and the power of unwavering obedience to God's commands. Before we begin reading, I hope you will take a moment to reflect on this. How does your faith shape your actions and decisions in times of uncertainty? Please pray with me. Lord, as we navigate our journey, help us remember your deeds, obey your word, and trust in your timing. May our faith be as strong as the walls of Jericho, falling before your divine will. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, it is now, and will be forever. Amen. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Chapter 4 Crossing the Jordan. It happened, when all the nation had completely passed over the Jordan, that Yahweh spoke to Joshua, saying, "Take 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe a man, and command them, saying, Take from here out of the middle of the Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones, and carry them over with you, and lay them down in the lodging place, where you will lodge tonight." Then Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared of the children of Israel, out of every tribe a man. Joshua said to them, "Pass over before the ark of Yahweh your God into the middle of the Jordan, and each of you take up a stone on his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask in time to come, saying, 'What do you mean by these stones?' then you shall tell them, 'Because the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of Yahweh. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones shall be for a memorial to the children of Israel forever." The children of Israel did as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the middle of the Jordan, as Yahweh spoke to Joshua, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over with them to the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. Joshua set up 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests who bore the ark of the covenant stood, and they are there to this day. For the priests who bore the ark stood in the middle of the Jordan until everything was finished, that Yahweh commanded Joshua to speak to the people, according to all that Moses had commanded Joshua. The people hurried and passed over. When all the people had finished passing over, the ark of Yahweh passed over, and the priests in the presence of the people. The children of Reuben and the children of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh passed over armed before the children of Israel, as Moses spoke to them. About 40,000 prepared for war passed over before Yahweh to battle, to the plains of Jericho. On that day, Yahweh magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they feared Moses all the days of his life. Yahweh spoke to Joshua, saying, "Command the priests who bear the ark of the testimony, that they come up out of the Jordan." Joshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, "Come up out of the Jordan." It happened, when the priests who bore the ark of the covenant of Yahweh had come up out of the middle of the Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up to the dry ground, that the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and flowed over all its banks as before. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and encamped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. Those 12 stones, which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up in Gilgal. He spoke to the children of Israel, saying, "When your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, 'What do these stones mean?' then you shall let your children know, saying, 'Israel passed over this Jordan on dry ground.' For Yahweh your God dried up the waters of the Jordan from before you until you had passed over, as Yahweh your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we had passed over, that all the peoples of the earth may know the hand of Yahweh, that it is mighty, that you may fear Yahweh your God forever." Chapter 5. The circumcision and Passover at Gilgal. It happened, when all the kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites who were by the sea, heard how Yahweh had dried up the waters of the Jordan from before the children of Israel until we had crossed over, that their heart melted. Neither was there spirit in them any more, because of the children of Israel. At that time Yahweh said to Joshua, "Make flint knives, and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time." Joshua made himself flint knives, and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. This is the reason why Joshua circumcised all the people who came out of Egypt, who were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way, after they came out of Egypt. For all the people who came out were circumcised, but all the people who were born in the wilderness by the way, as they came out of Egypt, had not been circumcised. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, until all the nation, even the men of war who came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they didn't listen to the voice of Yahweh. Yahweh swore to them that he wouldn't let them see the land which Yahweh swore to their fathers that he would give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Their children, whom he raised up in their place, Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. It happened, when they had finished circumcising all the nation, that they stayed in their places in the camp until they were healed. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you." Therefore, the name of that place is called Gilgal to this day. The children of Israel encamped in Gilgal. They kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. They ate of the produce of the land on the day after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched grain on the very same day. The manna ceased on the day after they had eaten of the produce of the land. The children of Israel didn't have manna anymore, but they ate of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. It happened when Joshua was by Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. Joshua went to him and said to him, "Are you for us, or for our adversaries?" He said, "No, but as commander of the army of Yahweh, I have now come." Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped, and said to him, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" The commander of Yahweh's army said to Joshua, "Take your shoe off of your foot, for the place whereon you stand is holy." Joshua did so. Chapter 6. The Fall of Jericho. Now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the children of Israel. No one went out, and no one came in. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Behold, I have given Jericho into your hand, its king, and the mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war, circling the city once. You shall do this for 6 days. 7 priests shall carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. When they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout. The wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, every man straight before him. Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh. He said to the people, Go forward and march around the city, and let the armed men pass on before the ark of Yahweh. It was so that when Joshua had spoken to the people, the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before Yahweh went forward and blew the trumpets. The ark of the covenant of Yahweh followed them. The armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark, while they continued to blow the trumpets. Joshua commanded the people, saying, You shall not shout, nor let your voice be heard, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth, until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout. So he had the ark of Yahweh carried around the city, circling it once. Then they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of Yahweh. The 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh went on continually and blew the trumpets. The armed men went before them, and the rear guard came after the ark of Yahweh while they blew the trumpets. The 2nd day they marched around the city once and returned into the camp. They did this for 6 days. On the 7th day they rose early at the dawn of the day and marched around the city in the same manner 7 times. Only on that day did they march around the city 7 times. At the 7th time, when the priests blew the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, Shout, for Yahweh has given you the city. The city shall be devoted to Yahweh for destruction, it and all that is in it. Only Rahab the prostitute shall live, she and all who are with her in her house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. But as for you, only keep yourselves from the devoted things, lest when you have devoted them, you take of the devoted things, so making the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are holy to Yahweh. They shall come into the treasury of Yahweh. So the people shouted when the priests blew the trumpets. It happened, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. They utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and donkey, with the edge of the sword. But Joshua had said to the 2 men who had spied out the country, Go into the prostitute's house, and bring out from there the woman and all that she has, as you swore to her. So the young men who were spies went in and brought out Rahab, her father, her mother, her brothers, and all that she had. They brought out all her relatives and set them outside the camp of Israel. They burned the city with fire, and all that was in it. Only the silver and gold and the vessels of brass and iron they put into the treasury of the house of Yahweh. Joshua saved Rahab the prostitute alive, her father's household, and all that she had. She lives in Israel to this day, because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. Joshua adjured them at that time, saying, Cursed before Yahweh is the man who rises up and builds this city Jericho. With the loss of his firstborn shall he lay its foundation, and with the loss of his youngest son shall he set up its gates. So Yahweh was with Joshua, and his fame was in all the land.